And so the person driving it can crank it and start it themselves. They crank it, start, and get in the car, right?
You crank it, you start it, then you get in the car, and then the front seat passenger gets in, because you couldn't possibly get in on this side. Even without this tire here, it would be difficult to get in on this side.
Sure. The Ford GT, what an awesome ride. And this is probably the closest I'm ever going to be to owning one. But, you know, never stop dreaming. Recently, I was invited by the Central Michigan Tees to attend one of their garage chats. These are events that they hold from time to time where they meet at one of the members' garages and they drink coffee, eat donuts, and talk about cars. I attended one, and it was a great event. The gentleman's garage has a lot of really old stuff and cool things to look at because he works on really old cars, and he was working on a 120-year-old car to get it ready for the owner of the car to take to a special event. Check it out. To the ambulance.
You know, it's pretty.
So what's going on here, Dave? Dan?
Well, this is one of these periodic meetings of the Model T Club, our local Model T organization. And we just gather and shoot the breeze and drink coffee and eat donuts and tell lies and, that sort of thing. And we go to different people's places each time, and most of these people have been here before on one occasion or another. But that's what's happening here.
And this is your shop?
This is my shop. No, I don't live in the shop. I actually live in a house. I have a friend that used to say, my only domestic quality is that I live in a house.
How long have you been here?
I've had this building since '86.
And what do you do normally? What do you do most here?
Well, I repair old cars. The older, the better. Every once in a while, I get talked into doing some restoration work, but I hate it. I mostly do repairs. And that very often includes making a part that is no longer available through normal sources. Or maybe several parts. Or maybe adapting some part from something else to make it work. That kind of stuff.
You've got quite a collection of parts too, so I bet you use a lot of those?
Well, I have a lot of stuff that might come in handy someday. I save a lot of stuff that might be useful for this, that, or the other thing.
Is there one thing that you have that you just know is probably the most useless thing?
The most useless thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, all this copper stuff that that people have been remarking on. I love to look at it. It's very pretty, but I'm not going to be carrying any liquid nitrogen around in the near future. Not that I know of.
So this car here, is this your car or something?
No, this is a customer's car. It's a 1902 Oldsmobile that belongs to a guy that I've only met once. He lives in Cleveland. He bought it out of a museum, and he expects to take it to London next fall to do the London to Brighton run. Do you know about that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it qualifies, but it won't be official until he actually gets it to London and has someone from the Royal Automobile Club examine it and certify that it is actually eligible. But they've done all the preliminary paperwork and checked the serial numbers and things like that. So it's pretty sure that it qualifies. Well, you have the crank on your side. That's what starts it.
This here.
Yes, that's the hand crank. The seat goes here, in case you hadn't guessed. But that's how you have to get to things like filling the oilers, and the battery goes in here. It does have electric ignition. There are some cars that don't even have electric ignition. Some very old ones.
And what did you have to do to this car to make it ready?
Nothing. I haven't done anything to it except take the wheel off because it had a flat tire. So I haven't even really started on this thing yet. I've got most of a year to to accomplish what I have to do, and I don't know what needs to be done yet. It just arrived. So.
Is it all original car, Dan?
That's one of those terms. There's a lot of original about this car, but I see some pieces of plywood. So that indicates that at one point it might have deteriorated and then someone fixed it up. But there's certainly enough original left on this to convince the Royal Automobile Club that it is a 1902 Oldsmobile. It has the serial numbers in two different places on the car agree with one another. It has all the features of a 1902 Oldsmobile. So,
Is that the first year for Oldsmobile?
1901 was the first year, yeah. So, and anything 1904 and earlier is eligible for this run. So,
What's the horsepower of this automobile?
oh, I don't know exactly. I think it might be around 6.
This is the curved dash.
The curved dash. This is the curved dash right here. See, it's curved like a sleigh.
Does it have, how many speeds forward does it have?
2.
Two.
2. And they're both controlled by this lever, which also controls reverse. So
That lever controls forward and reverse.
that lever controls all of the speeds, yes. It has a linkage that permits you to first do low, and then high, and then reverse. Yeah.
Is it in low now?
I don't know what it's in now.
'Cause it's
You have to be driving it to know, because as you move it back and forth, it will catch one or the other of the gears, and there's a neutral in between.
right.
But sometimes you have to go through one gear in order to get to, for instance, if you're in high and you want to go to low, you can't just put it in low. You have to pull it back and then and almost hit reverse so that you slop,
Get it back into neutral.
get it back into neutral, and then you can get low again.
So there's no clutch. I mean,
What's that?
There's no clutch of any kind. It's more.
Well,
stage.
there's a clutch, but it isn't worked by that. There's the clutch mechanism,
Right.
right? But there's no clutch pedal,
Right.
right?
Okay. Understood.
Yeah. So,
So T-ish.
yeah, it's a little bit different to drive,
It
but
looks like a pretty sound car with the engine and everything there already.
yes. Yeah, this is the way it sat in a museum for 50 years or so, just like this. And apparently it does run and drive, but
You said you had it running the other day just slightly?
yeah, I made it run a couple licks. There's no, I don't think there's any water in it or anything, so I didn't want to run it very much. I just wanted to prove that it would fire, which it did. And I turned it right off again.
Is this car noted for going up the Capitol steps? Is this the same type of car that did that?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Yep, exactly the same. Yep. Yep.
Do you know if it went up backwards or forwards?
The pictures show them going up forwards. And the pictures show that the rear wheels were wrapped around with rope so they wouldn't slip on the steps.
How long have
It's
you
been
had
tried.
this
What?
car- How long have you had this car in here?
Well, it arrived just after Old Car Festival, but I've been gone since then. Well, this one's a muffler. This is a water tank, and this is a gas tank.
And that plywood you're talking about's on the side where you think it's been replaced?
Well, this thing. Well, no, that's boards. That might be original. There's a board that goes on here that I think is made of plywood.
Any questions?
How big around is the tailpipe exhaust?
It's, I think that's 1/8 pipe. Really,
You think
but
it was?
they did it that way. I'm sure because I had an '03 Cadillac in here that had the same arrangement.
Okay.
Yeah,
How big is it?
1/8 pipe.
Oh, okay.
There are two of them though.
Oh, well, thank goodness.
You haven't taken a look at this one though, have you?
What is that?
That is a 1907 Rio, 2 cylinders.
And is this your car?
That's my car. Yeah.
How long have you owned this?
I've owned the pieces of it for about 10 years. And it took me quite a while to put it together. There were numbers of problems, but it's together and it's made Lansing to Dearborn twice. So,
It's got white tires on it.
yep. Yep. They are not exactly the original tires, but in the early days, tires were not quite white like this, but they were sort of gray. And the original tires did not have any tread on them. They were smooth. You can see that in pictures.
Is this a crank start car too? Or
Oh, yes. Yep.
where's the crank on this one?
Like that.
And so the person driving it can crank it and start it themselves. They crank it, start, and get in the car, right?
You crank it, you start it, then you get in the car, and then the front seat passenger gets in, because you couldn't possibly get in on this side. Even without this tire here, it would be difficult to get in on this side.
Sure.
You know, whatever you got to do. What, so you got this car all done now? It runs and drives?
It runs and drives.
Good. You finally have fixed it for now.
It always needs more attention.
That's just the way things are, huh?
Yes.
Hosting us, we really appreciate it, and works out great.
Thanks, Dan.
And you can thank Ted for the coffee.
All right, well, thank Ted for the coffee, but thank
Okay.
you. Thank you, Dan.
Quite welcome. Anytime.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
Good seeing you.
Good seeing you too.
Guys.
Oh, Dwayne, wow.
Guess who won?
Make a donation. You don't need the money.
And draw a second ticket. I have a door prize on the
Oh, okay.
box there.
Put mine back in.
Hey,
For
Wayne, I did.
Hey, draw it again.
Let's see if you're any lucky here. Okay, here we
Here's
go.
your other ticket.
It's
Dwayne.
944.
970.
Oh, boom.
That's way ahead.
That's after me.
970.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yay!
Man.
How about pin sign for your car collection from the ACDs.
Straight out of the Cracker Barrel.
Oh.
You get a rocket
That's where
chair
Ted
with
gets
it.
all his home decor from. Cracker Barrel. Get their catalog in the mail. You kidding me?
Oh, this game is great from the start anyway.